How much did you say you did over Black Friday last year?
2.2 million in sales, 26,000 orders. Yeah, and 50% of it on the first day. Business was growing. To be completely honest, we didn't have a handle on the growth.
Last time we were here, I think we had 28 employees, and then we grew to like 44. Now we have 21. We had no fucking money. That was our decision maker.
When you get to, you go 5 million, 10 million, to 20 million, there's so many more challenges that come. One of the biggest problems that founders make is
I'm so much more confident in what I'm talking about. I'm so much more happier and being more creative. And that is what really does drive a lot of the business. All of that, like that you've lost me already. My strength is...
The biggest lesson we learned this year is actually building out this content engine that we talk about. The biggest part of e-com is like how much creative can you produce that works, right? So it's like creative, data analytics, refresh, go again. For every product that we have, make 5 versions of those pillars. I think it's about 900 pieces of content. The biggest takeaway from running your own ads, look at my calendar for like a few months ago, and it's just this like paint sprayed at the wall, just everywhere. And I was just a slave to my calendar.
But have you spoken publicly on air about what we were talking about before, you guys?
So I think you said it.
So it's like okay to talk about?
Yeah, we're moving to...
All right, guys, welcome back. I know you're going to love this episode. You always love the ecom ones. And Adam and Raquel Bouris, 2 of the best ecom founders in Australia. Their brand, Who is Elijah, goes from strength to strength. Every year we have them on the podcast and they have bigger and better stories to talk about. So just for a little bit of context, they did over $2 million with their Black Friday sale last year. And I don't want to give any spoilers away, but this year is going to be a lot bigger. So heaps of great info. I'm going to ask for a few favors before we get into the podcast. Please, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, do me 2 quick little favors. Like this video. Just like it, takes 1 second, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really helps me out. It helps put the content in front of more people, and more people get to come along on this journey with us. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you could leave me a 5-star review, I'd really, really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone who's been doing it lately. But let's get into the pod. All right, we're back with another one. I know you guys love the ecom episodes. We probably couldn't get too many bigger brands or hotter Australian ecom brands over the past... 5 years you guys have been really growing aggressively. This is our 3rd time we've had you on the podcast. And Adam was just saying there's been a lot of full circle moments from the last time. So really keen to jump into it, get a little bit of an update and catch up. But for those that don't know, go check out the last 2 episodes. The first one was just with Raquel. Second one was with both of you. And we're going to have Adam back in a couple of months to talk about all the amazing things they do over Black Friday. But just as a little bit of a catch up from the research that I was doing, again, I'm assuming most people that are listening to this podcast know who you guys are, but some really cool things I found in my research today. So the last couple of years, you've managed 400% year-on-year growth, which is like insane, both from retail and e-com. So we're going to talk about both of those things. Apparently in one day, so we had a chat a year ago and the impressive stat was 6,000 units in a day. And I was like, wow. Apparently you guys have done 40,000 units in a day now. So unless that's been a new record you've set. And you've just gone from strength to strength, opened a new HQ and teams grown and all that sort of stuff. So we'll get into all of that. But both of you, 2 of my favorite people in the world, particularly in the e-com scene. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Keen to chat again. So give me the update. I don't know where you want to start, whoever wants to take over, but just give us what feels right, a good starting place for you guys, and we'll go from there.
Well, we've been talking about this for the last 3 hours. I think one thing that I think is a good thing to talk about maybe later, and maybe it's more of an Adam thing to talk about, but last time we were here, I think we had 28 employees, and then we grew to like 44. Now we have 21.
Interesting.
Yes.
Very interesting. I was going to ask about this because part of my research is I mentioned the founder interview with Nathan. I love everything that founder do. And he's had the same conversation and I had the same realization with myself. More staff isn't a better business. It's more headaches. It's harder to manage and it's a decision often based on ego. But talk me through your experience with that. What made you realize it and the thought process to realign in a better way?
I'll say it very nonchalantly. It wasn't an ego thing for us. We genuinely thought we needed so many people and we needed the executives coming from the big
corporate
businesses.
Space. Yeah.
We had no fucking money. So that was our decision
44
maker.
mouths to feed is a lot.
Yeah, look, I think so. We were at a time where the business was growing and we, to be completely honest, we didn't have a handle on the growth, right?
Really
and this is just
interesting.
being like honest, right? So wholesale's doing really well. As you said, e-com 200%, we've got these big numbers coming, and we're like, who do we need to help us manage this? Not who do we need to help us grow? Who do we need to help us manage it? So we hired head of marketing, marketing manager, product manager, finance manager. We hired all these managers, right? And we realized once these guys got the roles together and they started to actually, give us a runway of what was happening, we realized it wasn't that hard of a role to do. We just needed to take a breath, take control of it, and just, understand what we actually needed to do. And once these people came in and did this, I could clearly see that it's not a full-time role for this person.
Yeah.
I had to let some of them go. A few of them stayed that were really good, but we just we went, let's just get people to fix our problems now. One of the biggest problems founders make is they worry about the now, and instead of, what's on the other side of that decision 6 months from now. And my biggest mistake, I've said this before in other podcasts, is I said, this is a problem we need to solve that's going to come in 6 or 12 months time. So I need this person now. And that's so fucking stupid. Right?
Yeah.
Because
particularly when you do that times 44.
Because what if the problem never comes, right? What if you solve it before it gets to you?
Yeah.
What if you pivot in a different way and you go and find someone? The problem was we were like, it might take 3 months to find someone. Who is Elijah? Puts an ad out on Seek and everyone wants to work here. So we find them the next day. You get 20 people, all these different companies, the best of the best. Awesome. You'll be perfect. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, what is this person going to do once they fix the problem?
Yeah.
So that was like big mistake that we made. But we went all the way up to 44. And then I just went into this like ruthless mindset of like what do we actually need, And I spoke to Simon Beard a lot about it. And we were saying that there's brands that have, doing 100 million US a year with 4 employees. And you look at Andre Patelli, I think is his name, the guy who does the giveaways.
LMCT plus, yeah.
So one guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Few he has some contractors, but no proper staff, no physical office, nothing.
And I was looking at a lot of these, Mason de Sabre, right? Zane and Omar.
Yeah.
So 5 guys, 50 million a year.
They only have 5 guys, like a core team of 5?
Yeah, core team of 5.
Wow.
Right. And Zane was they were in the same boat as us. And
because I bumped into them doing a tour before we signed the lease for this place. This is like over 2 years ago now. We did a tour of around the corner, like it's not WeWork, but whatever their thing is. And they had heaps of people running around at that point. So they've probably been like a similar journey for you guys over the last couple of years.
Yeah. So he was the same. And we've spoken about it as well. And I just sort of gathered these insights from these guys. And I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Let's get rid of them all. So
people need to talk about it more. I think that's why we're so loud about talking about our mistakes, is because if we heard someone that we, trusted their business, I guess, I'd be like, I won't hire all these people.
I think that's probably part of the reason why so many people love you guys, because when, a lot of people that will be listening to the podcast will be, they even haven't started their business, but they really know they want to, and they've had this itch for months, if not years, or their early stages, maybe doing 10, 20 grand a month and really trying to scale. And they're making mistakes all the time. But then a lot of times they don't hear people with, 8-figure businesses or even 7-figure businesses talking about it. So when you guys speak about your mistakes so openly, I think helps people realize, wow, that's part of the journey.
Yeah.
And there's always, every time you've made these major mistakes, you've always come down to a big lesson that propelled you guys forward.
We always end up in here.
A little bit of a once-a-year therapy session.
Yeah.
But I saw I can't remember where I read it or if I listened to it today. I've just been binging a bunch of you guys all day. But you mentioned you were hiring from like some big like corporate companies. What was your experience with that? I don't want to lead you into saying it was good or it was bad. I just want to know the truth. Because my experience when we had hired from some like big, like some of the biggest companies in the world and brought them into an e-com startup, the way they work was completely different and it wasn't the right fit. And I was like, I've made a mistake here.
Similar. And I think I think what we've walked away is, well, we don't want to hire anyone unless they're coming from a very big e-com business.
It's different,
because
right?
we haven't hired anyone from a big e-com business. It's coming from, there might be like 60% retail and then, the rest online. So I think that was probably our mistake.
Yeah. And I think also like we weren't super clear on where we were going, right? And what we wanted to do. And when you're hiring head of departments and you're coming in and saying, hey, fix our stuff for us.
Build it.
Or build it for us, please. Can you build this? But you don't give them this like vision. You don't lock them into who you're going to become, what the brand stands for, and where we're going, and how we're going to get there. They come in and they're unsure, right? So, and also in the hiring process, you're not 100% certain on who to hire because you don't have a clear plan in place. For us at the time, we were still very dominant retail focused last year. Maybe we'll circle back, but we were probably 50-50 online to retail. We had a lot of price line conversations. We had 1,000 retailers, about 800 doors. And then we hired some of these people based on that strategy. And we're going to continue to do this. And then 3 months later, we're like getting rid of a wholesale, right? We're going to cut 700 accounts. We're just going to have 4 accounts now. So our strategy changes overnight. Someone we hired from retail is now no longer needed.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we're an e-com business now, which I always wanted us to be anyway. And we need to build content engines and we need data and analytics and we need to decide on what content pillars to grow out. And you tell this to someone who comes from retail and it's like you're speaking like Arabic, different language.
Different language.
So, it's not their fault that they came into that.
Yeah.
We weren't clear. This is the mistake people make.
It's always been our fault.
We'll go into the wholesale thing in a minute because that's something that I had on my list to chat to you guys about. But just to get clear, because I'm trying to put myself in that position. So when you went to market to hire these people, are you saying there wasn't like a clear what this role needs to be in like 12 months time? It was, this is the problem we have now. Someone with more experience in this niche or this element of the business come fix it.
Yeah.
What was the lesson then if you guys have now gone through it and realized probably shouldn't have done that? What would you do differently if you were doing it again?
Now we're very clear on like what the business is and we needed to unfortunately go through all of these learnings to get to where we are today. So we're grateful for them, but we're not assholes. We feel bad for having to, let people go. But I think it was we've just grown up a lot. Like I feel like an adult.
It's interesting.
I think like what I would do differently, I think I would like be much more like I would ask so much more detail in these questions in the interviews. Do you know how to do this? Because it's what we need, what we're building for the future. If we're building this e-com giant, it's going to be a top 10 fragrance brand in the world and largely going to come from e-com sales, then we need people that can dominate in this space.
Yeah.
And do you tell me what you think about content engines and content flywheels or whatever term it is, but how do you do that? How have you done that? Be very specific. And I just probably sat in these interviews and I was trying to figure out if they were good people. And I've always that's most important, right? But again, you can find a good person pretty easily, but can you do the job? And
at the start, when you're like going from like, say 1 to 5 mil, hire good people that are generalists, that are all-rounders, that you can do a bit here, you can do a bit there. Yeah. But as you go at the stage that you guys are in and you're trying to take that next step, you need different people, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And even now that we've settled where we're at, now I'm very focused on building this next layer of people. Yeah. Making sure it's the right people this time.
One of the things I've only spoken to them a couple of times, this would have been at an event, the High Smile guys. I remember them, they gave me a piece of advice about hiring that is really different to like if you're relatively new in business, and I don't know about you, I didn't work in any management positions where I was responsible for hiring before I started the business. The first time I was hiring for my business. So you've got very little information on what's wrong or what's right to do. And naturally when you go in and you bring someone in for the interview, it can be really easy to think that, okay, as you sit down, like you want them to want the job and you almost make it seem not easy, like you're selling them, but it's like the high smile guys, what they said, it's like you almost want to look for the no and make them not want it, because then it'll reveal only the ones that really are the right candidate. Yeah. Whereas if you go in with I want it to be them and you make it seem so easy, and it's like you create a good experience. You're not doing a podcast with someone, you know what I mean? So it was a really important thing. And I think you realize then if someone's spooked off by an interview that you put in some hard questions to them, then are they really the right person for what you want to move forward with? So that was just something that stood out from them, and they've built a massive team now, and they've gone through a series of revolutions of their business like you guys have done. But let's talk about that wholesale moment. We'll come back to all the e-com stuff in a second. I saw that and I thought, wow, ballsy move. To be honest, I get it. I like it, but ballsy move, right? And it's important for the vision of the brand moving forward. Talk me through that decision-making process and how long you thought about this and the reasons why.
I had been saying it, demanding it for a while.
Wow.
I don't say demanding. It wasn't to you. It was to others.
Yeah, just the universe, you know.
I just like knew it came from Sephora US wanting to see our Sephora Australia sales grow. Like I think it said like triple. And now we've tripled them and they're still not calling me. But
I'm sure you'll get there soon. You always do.
We'll get there. But that's sort of where the, I guess, idea came from. And I was saying it for a while, but, you know, so much of our revenue was coming from retail. Like, what did we say?
It was 50-50.
Yeah, but then from like probably at least like 30 to 40% of our revenue, I was basically saying like, we don't need it anymore.
That's crazy.
So as a good husband does, he says, okay. And I don't regret it, but it did hurt the business.
So you cut him off. How long?
30 days notice.
It was
31st of July.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think something else to add to it is that all these wholesale accounts, we were managing them quite well with like Salesforce and back-end stuff, and that wasn't an issue. Inventory wasn't an issue. None of it was an issue.
Payments, invoices,
Payments was an issue.
They were not paying. So that's why I think it was so easy in my mind, because I'm like, they're not fucking paying anyway. So it's not like we're going to notice it.
People weren't paying us 90 days overdue, 120 days overdue, sitting on a couple of $1 million of people owing you money, right? And you've already bought the product. You're on 30 or 60-day terms with suppliers. So now you're short 60 days. And where do you get the capital from, right? And then you're growing the business at the same time, investing into it. You've got this gap all the time. And this goes further into the challenges that we've had this year. We leaned on short-term finance to help us in those moments, which has bad, terms and bad, hard repayment plans. But you learn from that pretty quickly. Try not to get into that stuff if you guys are listening. But so we were going through all of that, and I could see that the retailers were part of that problem.
They're like the smaller ones, the independents.
The small retailers, right? Yeah. So they just, they're struggling to pay their bills, and they're struggling to keep the lights on, and they got no customers coming in. So they're, of course, coming to buy product from us that's selling because it sells, but they're not, paying us.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's like we're just sort of continuing to give these guys free product at scale here, and it's hurting us hugely. So when the Sephora thing was like, when they sort of said that to Raquel, it was like, all right, now's the time, let's just do it. And we essentially chopped off one of our legs, for the last 4 or 5 months now. But it's all come back and, it's worked in the way that we wanted to. But, we cut off 30% of our own revenue, and we were investing hugely into the business at the time. And we were in some short-term finance loans that were bad. And you get into this situation where it's like, holy shit, this is real now. And obviously e-com is there just driving it all for us. We're learning all this stuff a lot, very quickly as we go.
You've had a few of those moments over the years, and sometimes it's e-com that saves you, other times it's wholesale and retail. It's really interesting, the journey you guys have gone on, huh?
Yeah. So it's been a lot of that this year. We made some big decisions with e-com as well that we didn't do well, like our discovery set and things like that. But overall, the decision to cut wholesale has been good now. It's very easy to manage David Jones, Sephora, the airports, and a couple of others.
And we've started to like bring back some independence. Like I feel like we've just done like a really good cleanse. Like we needed a really good cleanse, and now we're bringing on. I don't know. I think we might have like 50, like good independent
compared to 700,
Yes.
plus whatever it was at one point.
that pay, and like it's just like much more easier to manage, and just like controlling like the branding aspect of it as well. Like just because we, I'd had multiple wholesale agencies since day one of Hills Elijah, just like 6 years, and they were just putting us anywhere because they were getting paid commission.
Yeah,
so
and at the start of the business, you're like, sign me up, put me in the petrol station.
Yeah.
If you need to.
Literally. I'm pretty sure we were in a petrol station or similar. But yes, I'm really glad that we did it. Should have maybe planned it a little bit, but I know we're such rip off the Band-Aid type of people. So I don't regret it, but I definitely do not recommend that to everyone.
Just a quick one from me. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you'd know that after scaling Happy Skin Co. to over $10 million per year, I spent close to 18 months creating the Viral Brand Builder program, which teaches someone with zero experience how to launch and scale their very own e-commerce brand. With over 100 training videos and direct access to me, including one-on-one calls, you'll be guided throughout the entire process. Now, we already have a bunch of incredible results from students that are making multiple 5 and 6 figures per month. So if you want to learn how to build a business that has the potential to completely change your life, then click the link in the description and book in an application call today. Spots are limited as you'll be speaking directly to me. So hopefully I'll chat to some of you soon. But until then, let's get back to the podcast. You mentioned the finance thing and getting into some short-term finance, and you mentioned like if you can avoid it, do it. Great. And you do see some that can avoid that as they properly truly scale. But I think it's just part of the process. You've got to have some courage when you're really trying to grow and become like a 30, 40, $50 million per year brand, which I'm sure is like looking like where you guys are heading in the next couple of years. Yep. You don't get to be a $50 million a year brand by playing it safe. No. So I think it's part of it. But yeah, of course, if you can avoid those things, but as long as you guys keep finding yourself out the other side, then happy days. Were you guys afraid? Because this is my original thought that, okay, because obviously the idea behind it, cut out all these little retailers. People still love the product. You've proven that people love the product. Now, if they want it, then they'll go to David Jones or they'll go to Sephora. Yep. But were you concerned that, hey, we might not win back a percentage of these sales?
Yeah, but we are getting new customers online every day, so that far outweighs the potential loss.
Yeah, I still think that there's this really important customer segment that doesn't shop online.
Yeah.
And especially for fragrance, very important. And I think definitely there's a percentage of those store shoppers who probably don't shop with us anymore,
But we're coming back.
But where,
you also can't keep everyone happy, right?
Exactly.
And it's the same thing as like hiring and having to let go of staff. You don't love to do it, but if you want to have a business.
Yeah, that's right. And it was just like, I know that we could get to these people through advertising and good content eventually. And if they love the product, they'll come back.
Of course, right.
So it was sort of like and I think it'd be funny to see like us in these decision-making rooms. You know what I mean? It's not like, all perfectly laid out with all these presentations and all this data. It's like, what do you reckon? Yeah. What do you think? Like, all right,
I'm very similar.
Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, let's do it. Send the email now.
Yeah.
Send. So, it's you can make these decisions, off your gut. For us, it's worked out most of the time. But yeah, it's interesting how we get there.
What was the response from the retailers? Was there any blowback? But like, oh my God, I'm so upset.
Some. Everyone was disappointed. We had like only like a handful of like angry, like you just used us to build your brand. But I've been with you for like 6 years. Yeah, but I mean, we've always been very nice to our wholesale. I mean, we kept giving them product after not having like the last 3 invoices paid. So, I mean, I think we did our
And some of them were like, we knew this day was coming. You guys were getting so big. We're so grateful to be part of the story. Congratulations.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that stuff. I love those stories. And then, like you said, the good ones can get added back on if they strategically align.
Yeah.
You mentioned this discovery set experience.
Could have bought a house with this mistake.
I love that. I love talking about the mistakes that cost you the most amount of money, and not necessarily the most, but cost you a significant amount of money because when that happens to you, you learn a big lesson from that, and everyone listening, they can learn hopefully from these mistakes to know what to look out for as their own businesses grow. I think we were chatting about that last year and the plan. We definitely spoke vaguely about 10,000 sets, and then I know you wanted to give away $1 million at one point.
We nearly did it.
And like it sounds really good. good. And I'm like, okay, like
Yeah.
as long as the unit economics are okay and you're winning back a certain amount, sounds good. But talk to me and tell the story to everyone listening.
The win
about
back
the
was not
discovery
good.
set. The win back
The
wasn't
win
where it
back
needed
was
to
not
be.
good. You do it.
I'll do it. All right, so we have this obviously discovery set product, which is all of the fragrances in 2 ml sample size. We sell it for $80 for the set.
So how many fragrances are in that?
Now there's 11.
So
soon
you
to be
put
13.
everything in your discovery
Yeah,
sets?
it almost
Yeah.
always has everything in it.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and look, for the whole existence of the business up until 6 months ago,
Less.
we thought that nobody would buy one of our full-size bottles if they had not first purchased a discovery set. Because why would they? How do they know it's going to smell good? Right? That's how this is.
That's the $1 million question, right? How do you sell smell online?
That's right. Our whole business strategy was so focused on this discovery set. And look, it had worked for the first few years. And we're like, it's $80 retail value. The cost of goods on it, $10, $12, right? So it's good margins.
Yep.
To acquire a customer on Facebook's, 20, 30%. So there's good margins in it still at this entry level product for everyone. So we thought, we're doing this for 4 years, let's just ramp it up.
Mm-hmm.
So in America, we thought, let's just give it to them for free, for $1.
Just pay for shipping.
Just pay for shipping. No, free, pay for shipping.
Yeah.
Right? So we turn it on ads over there and 6,000 get sold in like 24 hours.
What was your CPA for that?
$1, right? $1 CPA on Facebook. They were paying $10 for shipping. So we were technically break even, raw materials plus CPA was nothing pretty much. But we then had to pay for shipping, obviously, right? Which was $7 to $12 internally in America. And we had to pay for producing the product sending the product overseas to the US. So we were, 6,000 units times $12 shipping, worst case scenario, we were like in a bad spot immediately. About $80,000, $90,000 shipping bill that was expecting $9,000 of investment to do this.
Really can blow out quick.
And no one came back and bought
And then no one
them.
came back and bought, right?
I was going to say, what was the returning customer rate from that experiment?
And they continued. We continued with this, right?
We kept going.
So we're like, well, no one's coming back because there's no commitment to them, and they just want a free product. So we turned it off in America, and we're like, in Australia, we will sell it for $30, but they can redeem a full size bottle for $30 and with $30 off.
So you get a $30 voucher.
So it's essentially similar sort of concept.
Free.
Right?
It's still free, but we think we're getting better customers coming.
You've got more size options now, right?
Yeah.
Look, you have like
30
4.
mils now.
Did you have like a minimum of what they needed to spend to get the $30 voucher?
I think that was a part of the.
They had to buy a full size bottle, so 50 mil or 100 mil.
Okay, yeah.
So we were still giving it away for free technically, but we're getting $30 at checkout, right? And I think they were paying for shipping, but it went so well that now 85% of our revenue was coming from a $30 product, right?
Whoa.
So like not just 20%, 85% was coming from a $30 product. When you look at your total revenue as a whole normally, which is largely based around full price selling, and you set your percentages for your OPEX, for your wages, for your marketing, and you set all of that off that average full size price, 15% for wages, 20% for this, whatever, you can see what's going to happen here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that that's normally say $100 argument would be full size, right?
Yeah.
And now 80% of the revenue is coming from $30. So all of these fixed percentages go from 15 to 40, 20 to 50, 10 to 20.
You're just done with the gross margin and we do that
overnight,
sort of stuff.
pretty much, right? We run this thing for a month, but what looks like good is the sales coming through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much people buying it, thousands and thousands a week going out. So we're making really good money and we're thinking, okay, this is okay. But
Lucky to look deeper because so many people would look on the surface level and be like, we're rich, baby, we're killing it.
Yeah. And this year, like I say that I really sort of learned how to be a CFO the hard way this year. But I'm glad that I went through the pain.
Good move bringing him in, eh?
Yeah. I'm glad I went through the pain. But so during this exercise, I'm like, this is not adding up, guys. So I started to look at all of it, and all of the expenses and everything's just gone through the roof. We're losing 60% profit each week.
Mm-hmm.
So we were better off not operating, right? Than to turn the website off. We would have been
just stop it all, right?
60% better than doing what we were doing.
Like this is only in July. Like this isn't.
So this is June, May and June.
Oh, May and June.
You're a brand of extremes.
Yeah.
Do things fast.
Yeah.
You kill it, you grow fast, but and then you fail fast at the
Yeah,
same time, which is good, right?
Yeah.
That's what they say.
But we learned this, how to read a balance sheet, how to read a P&L, how to actually go at all of these line items and rip them to pieces. So this happens. We also have hired these people we were telling you about before. And then we, after that, cut all our wholesale revenue, right? So for May, June, July, and August, we're losing money May and June. And then we cut wholesale and we lose that revenue there. Meanwhile, we're investing heavily into new infrastructure for machinery, new facility, overseas growth, all of these things. So this is unit economics, basic 101.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever do that, guys. But learn it back to front before you're going to go and do one of these. Sit at the table. What's the decision we should do today? Let's do that, right? There needs to be better processes in place. But all
One
intentions was right. We then ran a 100 mil for a 50 mil sale to buy the 100 mil for the price of a 50 mil. And it was a huge event for us because we'd given out so many discovery sets. We did win them back, but we had to force it back because we needed the revenue to get us out of the spot.
Yeah. That's crazy. Have you guys, and feel free to not talk about this if you don't want to, but again, in a situation like that, it can feel a little bit, panic stations, but at the end of the day, you've got a commercial, enterprise worth X amount. If you really need to raise cash, you can. Has it been a consideration for you guys to bring on a strategic investor to be like, let's just cut all this bullshit. We can do it so much easier. Obviously, I know it's your baby, but seems like it could.
More than happy to, but not when we're struggling, because then I feel like we'll be selling ourselves for not what we're worth. And we've come out the end of all of this. Like we're actually very great now.
For sure. But I just mean in terms of I guess you're doing everything, all the ideas you have. You've always got enough to execute the ideas you have. You just sometimes you got to figure it out for a little bit in between.
Yeah, that's
to come out the other end.
Yeah, look, and I do, I think what it taught me as well was to lean on advisors correctly and ask the right questions before you go and do things. And it's definitely continued to teach us to fail fast.
Yeah.
You need to try things. You need to try to break things, you need to see what will stick. And you just have to have things stick more than they don't stick. And for us, we just went through a period of time when we look back on it, this would be the small amount of things that didn't stick all at the same time. But
it's good. It gives us something to chat about once a year.
Yeah, that's
what
right.
else do we talk about?
There's always a big challenge every year for every business, right?
Yeah. And then it's getting through all of that. And now out the other side with good partnerships, a really good understanding of capital. We have leaned on some new capital options that are out there, supply chain finance, invoice finance, these other things that I didn't know were available. If I didn't have my back to the wall, I wouldn't have known how to go and get them. Yeah.
Have you guys, and I've sorry to people that listen to every episode, I've brought them up a few times, but I really do love what they do. Do you guys know the American brand Midday Squares?
No.
They're killing it. They're like a chocolate bar company, a little bit healthier, but they're still chocolate bars.
MDS, yeah.
Yes.
And she just had a hiatus and just left.
She's like, I'm stopping. Because I think one of the things that makes those guys so, one, they're killing it. Their organic content is really, really strong, and the connection and the whole mission, David versus Goliath, and that whole notion. But they are very, and I'm not saying for every business to be like this, but they are very open about, live on their stories. Hey guys, we're in a bit of a pickle here. They talk about this shit live.
Yeah.
And that's an extremely brave move, because again, it doesn't always come off, happy days at the end of the day. But it's some really cool stuff that I see them guys put out. One thing I wanted to ask is, there's always something. What's keeping you awake now? Right now?
I'm sleeping great.
Look, for me, it's, we're coming into Black Friday now, and we've had a year, of a lot of at the core of all of the, challenges and learnings and growth we've had. There's been this product, that is like stood there, and it's continued to stand up, and it's continued to push the business forward. So I'm so pumped, like, for the next 8 weeks, going into Black Friday, going into Christmas, going into next year. I've been sleeping good, but look, it's been
hard.
It's been hard, but look, now it's how big can we go for Black Friday? How big will Christmas be? And are we ready for it? Like, from a production standpoint, our creative team is like crushing it, so proud of them and everything they've done the whole year. But like, what we've put together for Black Friday is pretty special. So it's exciting.
Yeah. I guess another way to frame it for you, Raquel, is like, what can you not stop thinking about? What's on your mind?
I honestly, I don't know. Like, it has been the hardest year, and I sound like some ditzy, stupid wife. But I think and I was just thinking of it then listening to Adam, I think why, like, we've had like some hard times like throughout the years, especially this year, but I've never once doubted that this is not a good product. I know my product's better than anyone out there. And I know that we're never going to fail, and it's never going to come to a point where like, fuck, we failed, we have to start again.
Sure.
Like, I just know that that's never going to happen. So I just know that like all of these problems that we're going through, I'm just like, fucking bring it on. Like, we will beat it, and we're going to come out bigger and better than ever. So I think like, yes, we have hard days, and I'm just like, oh, I'm over it. Not over it, but I'm just like, I'm over the day. I don't know. We just like go to bed, take something to help me sleep at night, and then I get up the next day, and then I don't know, we just fix it.
Days,
and it's like so many people are like, oh, how do you guys work together every day? And it's like, I can't imagine it any other way. Like, I think like that would, if I was in it without Adam or vice versa, or I'll speak for myself, I couldn't do it. Like, I wouldn't be here right now. But because we're together, I just feel like, I don't know. Just
Let's talk about the product, because there's been a series of new ones since last time we had you on the podcast. How many year to date sitting here on Halloween, how many new fragrances have you launched this year?
I think they're all in that bag. We've got Ocean Eyes, Electric Soul, Cherry Fiesta. I'm not missing any, am I? Yeah, 3.
So 3 new launches. And talk to me about a little bit of a pivot. It's more, I guess, I don't know, was it a marketing decision? Was it you want to be different? Who is Elijah used to be like all clear or like yellow, and now you've got like the really cool blues, purples, cherry reds that really stand out, are really eye-catching. Talk to me about the ideation process for you with all these new scents that you come out with, and like the colors and everything like that. Because I think that's something that's like, that's part of your genius. And I know you've got a really great perfumer that helps you bring them to life. But in terms of like the ideas and the direction for this stuff, talk to me about that.
Well, the colors started from Rebel Rose, which launched in July last year, because it was a really yucky natural color. Like, it looks like
it's like a rosé color, is it?
No, before
we colored it, it was like the natural color of it was like, I don't want to say it looks like wee, but like it was like that like yucky orangey.
You really prank someone about it.
I shouldn't say that. So that's when I was like, I love the smell, but can we color it?
Change the color.
And so we colored it. So then that's what started the coloring, and then the next one after Rebel Rose and Wall Street was Ocean Eyes. I'm like, colored
some super viral content around Ocean Eyes. Hey?
And like, so I think like if we hadn't colored it, I just don't think it would have been as viral as it was. Like, Ocean, obviously blue makes sense. And now it's just like, what color does this fragrance, like what color do we see when we smell this fragrance?
It really, like, the name helps color it.
Yeah.
Obviously
Electric
Rebel Rose
Soul
has rose in it, but like Ocean Eyes like had to be blue.
Yeah.
Electric Soul, just like
it's purple,
this
right?
deep purple color.
Like lightning sort of vibes. Yeah.
Like
and then Cherry
Fiesta.
Cherry. But we've got a new one coming out. I won't say what the name is because it's a really cool name. But we've got a new one coming out in February, and it's clear.
Oh, back to clear. Okay.
Because I just don't see it as like, I sound like such an autist. I just don't see I don't see a color when I smell it. But this is one of our best fragrances we've ever done. I think it's really good.
And I heard obviously they're unisex fragrances. Some of them may lean a bit more female, but the core of the brand was unisex. I hear, are you guys working on like more male
I was.
Is it going to happen? Is it not?
This is why I shouldn't go and I should have like a
No,
publicist.
I just listened to everything you guys have said.
No,
for the last year,
we've definitely spoken about it. But now I'm like, I don't think I'll do that. We have like made some really beautiful fragrances that are definitely more masculine
leaning. Yeah.
But I think I'm just gonna like bring them out as like our core fragrances because I don't want to like ever be that brand that's like, well, you're not doing what you said you were going to do, which is like we're genderless and like we're for everyone. So I don't think we need to create categories.
I think if you have a product that's resonating more with men, you put more males in the creative. You can
there's
segment
other
that
ways.
without changing who the brand is.
Yeah.
And I think it was also like I found these like I made these like bottles and I'm like obsessed with them and it's a different bottle.
Oh yeah,
and that was like also the idea behind it.
Almost just wanted to be able to play with the new bottles and stuff.
Bottle, but I'm not going to do it. Maybe we'll do like another brand one day that's like just like male.
A little bit more masculine. What about Perfume X? What's the story with that? Like the little bit more of the fresher Gen Z.
Yeah.
Where's that idea at?
I shouldn't have started another brand.
Yeah.
Not that I shouldn't have. It is selling, but I didn't. I thought it was going to be easier to like put as much effort into it. And I just can't. Like and I can't step away from Who's Elijah. But it's still selling. Like it sells itself essentially, but it's not. Like I'm not building the brand, if that makes sense.
And that's the important thing. That's what's driven all the growth. Like if you didn't build the brand, Adam can't scale to how much you can a day.
Yeah.
It is very interconnected and that's I can't talk. I've made all these same mistakes myself and gone off and done all these other things. And like, holy shit, I've got 5 things I'm trying to work on. It's not easy, but I think as long as, for me anyway, and I feel like you're just naturally so genuinely passionate about Who is Elijah, you will gravitate to the ones that you're most passionate about and you enjoy most. So I think most people that start a successful business make the decision too quickly.
Yeah.
To go and start something new and have a second thing and a third thing and do all that. And it's an extremely normal human urge to do. But I think like one piece of advice for people that are maybe at that stage, if you're at that point and your current business isn't doing it for you anymore, just try. And I know a year's a long amount of time. Get the business set up for a sale, run that process, get it done cleanly. If you're on an earn out, you're on an earn out, but then it's like it truly isn't a massive amount of your life and then go and do it because it's like you think, okay, I've done it once. It's easy. No, you done that because you were all in on that one thing.
Yeah, it's so true.
Right? It's a big thing. But what about like that's a big like probably realization you've had. Does anything come to mind for you, Adam? Like one of the biggest lessons from the last 12 months?
Yeah, there's a few, but look, I think, this year for me, like I've just been in every detail of the business. And I think that when you get to, you go 5 million, 10 million to 20 million, there's so many more challenges that come your way. And for me, it's just like, I don't know, I feel like this year was painful, but I'm actually super grateful that I went through this year because if we had the success, if we had all these, like, if we didn't have these lessons now and then we got successful, I feel like we would fuck it up, right? Just based on what I've learned this year, right? If I didn't know these things that I know now, like, I feel like I can do anything now. I feel like I'm so equipped with it now.
And that's such like amazing advice, like I said before, about making mistakes for everyone listening.
Yeah. Oh, of course. And you don't intentionally go and make mistakes, but like,
of course,
they're going to happen, And I said to Raquel so many times, I'm like, when we were like really in it, I'm like, business is actually so fucking easy if you just don't make the wrong decision, Like when I think of it, I'm like, it's not that fucking hard. Like you make it hard by making wrong decisions and putting yourself in these painful situations. Overcomplicating things and saying yes to too many things. And like we were probably guilty of saying yes to everything all at the same time.
What's an example of that if one comes to mind? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's all right. Like
going to Coachella every year for the 5 years with our employees.
It's like, let's invest $400,000 into our facility right, without getting finance to do it. Let's also at the same time invest into launching into the UK, Europe, and the Middle Eastern market at the same time, which is going to be a lot of upfront investment. Let's also grow our team at the same time. And when you say yes to doing 3 of these things that are very high capital expenses, like it can be a challenge, you know? And if you don't have all this capital behind you, you're still running a business that essentially, you know, pays for itself. You can get caught out. And the smart thing to do would have been to pick 1 or 2 of these things and just focus on that. And we just, you know, we didn't do that this year, but equally at the same time, because we've come through it, because we've grown, because we are now in this all-time spot that we've made all of this, we've learned all of this. And now we don't have to learn it over the next 3 years because we only picked 1 problem to do per year.
It's not just the finances, it's the mental load as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And there was something I wanted to talk to you about, and you gave one of the examples was when you had to go and spend a couple months and learn Facebook ads yourself.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the importance or the ability to just go complete tunnel vision on the one most important problem, issue, challenge, focus of the business. And because like, I feel like you guys have gone through that, and there have been periods where you need to just go all in on that one thing. And as you guys know, like you said, business is really easy if you don't overcomplicate it. Prioritization has got to be one of the most important skills, right?
Yeah.
Has to be.
Absolutely.
Talk to me about, first of all, your recognition about that ability and when you need to do that sometimes. And then I'll ask you a little bit about like your process for decision-making around prioritization.
Yeah. So for us this year, it's been like, which is the biggest problem that needs to be fixed right now? But now, so like, how do I prioritize like the most important thing and go tunnel vision onto it? I look at like what is going to have the biggest long-term impact, right? And what is the fastest way to get there. It's not the right way to think, but it's like, okay, this is right now, if I go and learn all capital structure for investing, for different finance loans, for all the finance capital options available out there for e-commerce founders, I'm going to go and learn that now. And I'm going to dive into it for 8 weeks and nothing else matters. And on the other side of it was this complete understanding, at least this level I'm at now, complete understanding of how to pull on levers correctly so you don't get caught out again. So there's a huge upside to me learning that. And I just sort of like identify where's the biggest upside, and how long is it going to take me to learn this?
I want to ask you a question based on that. What gives you the confidence or freedom to be like, it's okay if I go all in on this one thing? Obviously having a partner that's also running the business with you helps, but what gave you the confidence to quiet all the other noise down, right? Because it's real easy being busy. You guys would know that. Yeah. And just be like, yes, I know you want me for this and I could be spending my time on all these things, but right now, this is what I'm doing. Because it takes a bit of courage even in that to be like, I'm going to commit to this.
Yeah. Well, what I did this year, I needed to allow myself to have the time, right, to do this. And I couldn't shut my team out while I'm learning these things. So previously my calendar, like down to basics, my calendar was open for anyone to just put time in there, right? So you look at my calendar.
That's dangerous.
You look at my calendar for like a few months ago, and it's just this like paint sprayed at the wall, everywhere. And I was just a slave to my calendar. And then I switched it all around and I said, guys, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, finance, ops, marketing, you get 40 minutes. And then by 10 o'clock, you guys are all done and it's my time. As soon as I implemented that, I wiped out the bottom of my calendar from 10 till 5. I can do whatever I want. So it was just like taking ownership of my time, which then gave me confidence to pick the right thing to work on. But I think also at the same time, like we had the team, I know how important the team is in this. Like some of like our creative team, they didn't need to be handheld anymore. I was essentially driving that and they've just taken ownership of it. So the biggest part of e-com is like how much creative can you produce that works, right? And they just took it on and did it. So knowing that the team's okay and that, yes, I'm here if you need me. You got 40 minutes in the morning, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we probably don't even need all that time because you're so organized. But yeah, it was just, organizing my time.
A lot of big shifts for you guys in terms of workflow and strategy and the way you manage your time.
Way to manage your time. And I think that, and I've spoken to a lot of other founders about how they manage their time. and showed them my calendar setup. And they're like, oh, that's like perfect.
Yeah, nice.
So it does work for me.
The way you were originally doing it before that change is what I used to do ages ago too. And it's like, you don't get any real work done till after 5.
No.
You know what I mean? And then by then you often have the most critical thinking, hardest work to do in your alone time. And obviously we don't finish work at 5 o'clock as founders, but you know, if you need to continue working late to get it all done, sometimes you've lost a bit of the juice. You know what I mean? You're not working at your best ability. So I think that's a massive one for you, Raquel. Obviously you have your own zones of genius and probably work in kind of opposite areas of the business. What's your main way of like knowing what to work on? Because you've built such an amazing brand. You've built so many good products and a community that is so around you guys and your products. How do you know? Because, you know, everyone asks on podcasts, how do you build a community? It's like, it's the most like, it's like, what a stupid question, right? There's so many things involved, but like it is so important that we can't not speak about it. There's so many things involved. Yeah. It's not just put up a story every day, you know, how have you gone about navigating that?
I've like delegated a lot this year. Like I don't know how else to say it, but like I'm not needed in the day-to-day operations of Who's Elijah, like almost not at all anymore.
That's where you want to be.
Yeah. And it's only like recent, pretty recent.
6 months.
Yeah, maybe like the last, this year's been great. Like now, like even just today, it was funny. My assistant, Abby, love you, Abby. She is incredible. Like she knows the business way better than I do. Like I'm not even needed there. And that is such a big benefit to the business because where I was 12 months ago till now, I'm so much more confident in what I'm talking about. I'm so much more happier and being more creative. And that is what really does drive a lot of the business, not all of it, but definitely a lot of it. I'm traveling, I'm meeting new people, I'm networking, I'm, you know, learning new things. And I think that's where my strengths are. I don't really have a job anymore, but I'm, you know, just building the brand and trying to build the community because it's not putting up an Instagram story. It's, you know, going out there and meeting people. And like now I get like pulled over in the street and like asked to like take photos with it. I'm like, what is going on? But it's so cool. And I'll stand and I'll have conversations with, you know, these girls that I'm meeting on the street. And that's so cool.
Crazy. I didn't check what you have today. And I know this isn't a metric that I'm sure you really care about. Remember, I swear the first time we had you on the podcast, just you would have had like 8,000 followers. And then last year it would have been like 20. And now last time I saw it was like 50 something. It's like crazy growth, you know what I mean? In terms of that personal brand. Yeah. And then like you said, that's something that you can't replicate. It's like, that's you. You just got to show up as you and be your authentic self and you'll find the right sort of people to draw into that. And I think you guys are really good. I was having this conversation with Anita a few weeks back when we had her on the podcast, talking about the difference between founders and CEOs. And obviously you're a founder as well, but I think like you've got the real good ability to be a CEO and you're like, fuck that shit.
I don't want to be sitting at a desk anymore. Like I just don't find, like obviously there's some stuff that I need to do and, you know, retail was all me at one stage and now, you know, we've got Patrick who lives in London and he's like our global retail sales director and like he's doing a lot of that now. And it's like, so I didn't know how to communicate with these global retailers. Like it's very different to how I communicate here. Like I went to a David Jones meeting the other day and they're like, oh, like it was like a sales meeting for next year. And like, oh, like, do you have a deck to share? And I'm like, no, like I should have done that. I should have made a deck. Like I've gotten away with it so good here and not in a bad way, but I can't
I can't is because of the personal brand and the strength of the brand that you guys have built,
which is not the overseas yet. So like I can't be cute, funny, dumb Raquel overseas. It doesn't work.
You're like, damn it.
So like I've needed to delegate and I'm enjoying like learning. But again, like my strengths aren't in the numbers and the spreadsheets and the all of that, like that you've lost me already. My strength is me going to meet the retailers and doing the events. And all that they wanted to know from me was, are you going to be present here for events and to build the brand and like what you've done in Australia? And yeah, like that's all they want from me.
Let's talk about that. We'll talk about some retail stuff. Then I want to come back and catch up a little bit on some econ stuff as well. But have you spoken publicly on air about what we were talking about before, you guys?
So I think you said it.
So it's
the other
like
day.
okay to talk about?
Yeah, we're moving to London. Sorry,
Big
Mom.
news.
Sorry, Dad. Joking.
Yeah. So obviously linked to exactly what you just said. Are you going to be here to be able to build the brand like you have done? And every time you've done those trips in the last year when you're walking with your little trolley and all your like that stuff really creates impact. And if you're only there a month and then you go home for 6 months, it's like and it's a bigger market. Well, 80, 90 million people in the UK. You need to constantly be there.
Yeah.
Talk about what's coming next and that next phase of life for you guys. And then we'll dig into kind of like what the actual retail growth journey has looked like for you guys.
Well, I was just in the UK and Europe for 3 weeks. No Adam, no kids. Sounds nice, but I miss them. I don't want to miss out on my kids' life. Like, it's so off topic, but I got home. I left Pippa, my nearly 3-year-old, was in nappies. I came home. She's fully toilet trained.
What can't he do?
I know, he's the mom as well. But that actually, we'd made the decision before that, but that really has done something to my mind. Like, I don't want to miss that, like, out on the kids' life. And
it's your business. Like you risk all this, and if you make good money, you make good money. Like, live the life that you want. Priority one, then money second.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and it's like, Adam hasn't even been to London, but he's very happy to move there. So, London, the UK and Europe's our next big market. So let's just move there. I think it'll be a lot quicker if we do it. And we want to live in Australia forever, but the next 3-4 years, I think we'll spend living outside of Australia.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. Like, some really key connections that have helped it all come to life. And, I think there's, deals that are getting signed in Germany, Scandinavia, the Middle East, the UK, just, for Q1, Q2 next year. So it's like, it's too much happening for us to not be there. I feel like if we waited another year, it'd be a year lost, and we've always just, if it's over there, like, let's just go. And what's the worst that could happen? You just come back.
Come home.
Like, it's not the end of the world. And the team here is good, production's set up. It's just like, there's a good mix now, and I'll come back every 10 weeks, 12 weeks or whatever and check in, and I'll have my meetings Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and everything's fine, And you can sort of justify it in my head. I'm like, I'm not leaving the team, I'm just going to go do this over there.
Yeah.
Kind of like we're needed in different countries, but we're married, so we want to stay together.
No, exactly.
But Adam can do his job from anywhere. I can't.
You can't, yeah. Yeah. And I think like so much growth is going to happen. We were in Dubai recently, and I hadn't been super like 100% on board with leaving, to be fair, just because I was worried about here and kids and all that stuff. And went to Dubai. It's like a random Tuesday. We were going to Europe. It was like a random Tuesday in Dubai in a mall. And there would have been 300,000 people in this mall, right?
It was walk packed, without hitting someone.
Biggest mall in the world. And it was like, what the fuck are all these people doing here? It's like midday.
It's the center of it's literally like the center of the world.
Of the world. And it just immediately, I'm like, we're not going to build $150, $200 million brand from Tarrant Point, in Caringbah. And I just was sitting there looking at all these people. I'm like, this is it over here. So let's just do it, And our son's 5. He's going to high school, 6 more years.
Primary school.
Oh, then high school.
He'll be 6 years before high school. So like, let's just look at these 5 years of like him being, not in high school yet, but let's look at 6 years and go, let's live anywhere.
So you want to be back by the time he's in high school?
Yeah. Yeah.
What a cool experience even for him as a kid. Like I feel like they're always the coolest kids. It's like, oh, where did you grow up? Oh, well, I'm here, but I've lived over here.
I speak 12 languages.
When's the move happening? Q1 or sooner?
January.
Well, because Georgie needs to start school. So we've kind of got the date on ahead of 3rd of January. But
we've done nothing.
So I need to get a new passport, but I'm going to America in a few days. So I need to.
How long's left on your passport?
No, that's fine, but I need to I still haven't put my married name on it.
Okay.
So I want to change it before we go, because it's causing issues with setting up everywhere overseas, because I've got like 2 names. So as soon as I get back, we'll get a new passport, start the visa process. But I think it's quite an easy visa because we've got the business set up there. We pay tax there already.
Australia and the UK, I think since they did Brexit, they made it even easier for us to go both ways. So I'm sure.
I think it's easy.
Yeah. I wouldn't be too stressed about that. Now, you mentioned why they want you over there to be the face of the brand to go and grow it. What has the sales cycles been like for some of these big deals? I didn't realize we talked about the David Jones thing before, I think on our first podcast. I didn't realize it was a 5-day sales cycle from like first contact to, here, we'll launch you in store at this date. What has it been like with some of these bigger retailers, whether it been conversations in the UK and Europe or the US, just to paint a picture of what it looks like for brands that are kind of getting ready to move into that retail expansion?
I'll allow at least a year. Yeah, at least a year. Like Boots, like for me, from being told no from Boots in May last year or June last year, getting on a plane and handing out samples in July in front of their stores, got an email from them in April of this year. So it's at like 9 months.
Yeah.
We just launched like last week. So that was over.
Yeah.
You know, that's a process. And that's quite quick.
What was that email that you got from them in April?
It was from Charles, the head of fragrance. Or like, hey, Raquel, I'm Charles, X, Y, and Z, would love to have a chat. And I was like, is this real? And we're just getting ready to go to Coachella. And then we had the call and it was like, yeah, let's do it. And
Did you, good things happen around Coachella, right? Did you hear any feedback from head office, from Buzz when you did that out in front of the stores? Remember you said, not really, but the
nothing.
people loved it.
Nothing from anyone from Boots other than whoever was on socials saying this isn't how we accept brand applications. But yeah, no, nothing, crickets. I didn't think it worked.
Yeah.
But then Charles said it.
Yeah, but then when we spoke to Charles,
I'm still talking
April,
about it now. It's memorable, right?
Charles, the buyer, fragrance buyer.
He said we saw it, like, and we've been watching you ever since. So it did work, but we just didn't hear anything from them about it until we actually spoke to them.
That's been the way it's been for you guys multiple times. Like they'll watch you guys and they're like, okay, we already know we want you. Hey, here's an order. And you're like, Adam, we just $1 million order.
I think that's important for people listening. Like you might think that they're not watching you, but they really are. So like you have to just continue to keep going with what you're doing, you know, build your brand, build your community, and they'll see it eventually.
Some wow moments. Like imagine how many brand submissions that they're getting all the time. And, you know, I speak to these retailers now and they're like, we get thousands a week. So it's like, how are you going to stand out? Is that the reason that we got into Boots? Maybe, I don't know, but it definitely got their attention. And now I'm just trying to think of like, how do I fly a helicopter over Ulta Beauty's warehouse office? Because they're still saying no.
The activations and like the PR side of things that you guys have done very well, has that been something driven in-house or did you go to like PR agencies to help you with that? Because I know a lot of the ideas came from you and be like, hey, we're doing this and like, okay, let's figure that out.
I mean, the Boots thing was just me texting Adam saying, hey, I'm going to go to London next week. There was no planning in that. Like the launch event that we just did in London a couple of weeks ago, that we got a PR agency. We partner with a PR agency in London now. Brandstand, they're amazing for any Aussie brands that need a PR agency in London. They're incredible. Brandstand.
I feel like they've hit us up at some point because the name rings a bell.
They're really good. Okay. I really love them. And I don't like PR agencies. Like I am like anti-PR agencies. They're amazing.
Where does the anti-PR agencies come from?
Oh, they all just lie. They lie. They're not worth the retainer. Like what are they doing every other day for you? Unless you're doing like big launches every other month. Like we don't. We launch 3 times a year. Like what's the date? I don't know. I just don't see the value in it.
I agree. I've got some friends that own PR agencies, and I think like at certain times,
not speaking for everyone. I'm sorry.
Of course. I think like outcome based, deliverable based is probably the right move for e-com businesses. Unless you're like a company that's doing like a launch every month or like something like that, I think maybe then. But the main thing for me is justifying a retainer for PR like that is.
Yeah. And it's more so like I'm more talking, we don't have a PR agency in Australia. Also like just had bad experiences outside of Australia. I don't even want to say the country because they'll probably get angry at me.
Yeah.
But outside of Australia is where like
I think their metric, the way that they like measure their success through earned media, the earned media metric.
Media, I think,
And one of these agencies, I was like, guys, what are you doing? Like, tell me give me a report on what's going on, blah, blah, blah. Like, tell me what you guys are doing. they sent me through this earned media report of all these influencers that have been gifted, right? And posted or not posted, right? It was a 3-page list that had, total value of influencer gifting was, earned media of $550 million US. And I wrote back to them, I'm like,
we didn't earn that much
do
money.
I have $550 million US in my bank? You wouldn't be hearing from me. I'm like, what's going on,
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is how we measure success. It's like an influencer has 2 million followers. They were gifted. And the average value of, their audience would be this, terms follower this, which means earned media is this. So that's how we measure success.
It just goes to show they have absolutely
no
zero
idea what they're
talking about
Yeah.
or what it's like to run a business. That is mental.
Yeah. And I just like,
Yeah.
Isn't
And
that
that's
great?
happened to us a couple of
550
times
million.
now. Yeah.
Mate, that's $1 billion.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Raquel, don't worry. We're shutting up shop. Yeah, really cool. I think like you guys have, you do things differently, and I think you stand out of the crowd just naturally the way you guys do things. So I'm sure this move over will come end up with a lot of these big retail deals and continued growth throughout Boots. Now to go back to some of the stuff that we talk about, Adam, we'll do another episode in a couple months before you guys leave to recap the next Black Friday.
Yeah.
But for the people that have been following along and listening to all the episodes, we left off last year right before Black Friday.
Correct.
You had a pretty crazy, really good end to last year.
Yep.
Catch us up from that point. How did Black Friday go?
Yeah, it was really good. It was 20,000 orders, 25,000 orders. We were 12 days sale. I ran the whole thing myself, all the campaigns. We had a creative team, but I literally did all the copy, all the captions, all the CTAs, ran the whole campaign, which was so rewarding for me.
Yeah.
And I really loved it. Taught me a lot, showed me what was achievable with limited understanding. And then we got to January, and I realized how much of a full-time role it was going to be to stay at that pace, to continue to go. We almost bought a media buyer in-house, but I went to agency. One of the agencies inside Jay's e-commerce equation, went with them because same strategy. So I could understand it.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I could sit on the calls and understand what they're doing and what they're not doing, which I think is probably the biggest takeaway from running your own ads is knowing how to communicate to an agency, whether they're successful or not. And this is where I think a lot of people miss the point, because the agency can tell you it's great, but if you don't know if it's actually great because you don't understand it, then that's your fault, not their fault. So learning that's been awesome. So went to agency and then switched again to a different agency. The Jay's agency, they were awesome. Nothing against them. Just went into a different direction as we were scaling or going into US, UK, and NZ. Different structure set up. And one of my advisors had a different agency, and we went there.
Yeah.
But now for me, my role is managing all the agencies because I don't want 70 people in-house doing this. We have email, SMS, we have media buying through Google, TikTok, Instagram, Meta, all that, affiliate agencies. We have all these agencies now because I wanted to be lean because Simon told me to be lean.
Yeah.
Simon Beard. So that's the structure.
Lean so much better.
That's the structure we have. And as far as Meta and just, paid advertising through creative anyway, the biggest lesson we learned this year was actually building out this content engine that we talk about. And
content drives it all, right?
Content drives it all. And you need this constant, how do I say it? This constant understanding of what's working and what's not working, how to iterate the content, change it, make it better. So it's creative, data analytics, refresh, go again. It's just these loops of creative.
So what's, it's a whole year down the line now. I was a little bit surprised in the information you dropped on us last time that your account at that point, was breaking all the rules. Everyone's saying it's all UGC, and you guys no, we're almost all static.
Yeah.
And it's killing it for us.
Yeah.
How has the creative sphere and the creative world changed up until now? How would you say inside your accounts and what you're getting your creative team to work on, what's the rough split on the sort of content that you're producing now and what's sort of working at the moment?
Yeah. So it's evolved so much, to be fair.
Wow.
And Meta talk about this. You need this diverse, the word they use all the time. You need this diverse mix of content between reels, videos, short form, long form, static, cast. You need all of it.
Everything, right?
All of it. But the way we look at it is we call them content pillars, which is just a type, style of creative. Is it a founder video? Is it ingredients only? Is it warehouse operations? Is it lifestyle, UGC? All of these types of content, we just call them pillars. And we make, for every product that we have, we make 5 versions of those pillars.
How often are you doing that?
So 11 products times 20 pillars, 5 assets, right?
20 different categories of content you guys make.
Correct.
20 different pillars.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. So, there's, again, lifestyle, flat lay, all these different versions.
Did you just do the math, Yui? Oh, I thought you were going to that. Like, how many pieces of content is that?
I think it's about 900 pieces of content to get you to this point where you've got all aspects covered for every product that you have. And when we realized going through this, it's hard to manage that volume all the time. And even talking to the Meta today, actually, I was on a call with one of the disruptor coaches, top 75 brands in the world, Xclad, those guys. They have their own group inside Meta. They're called the Disruptors. And they have their own account managers. And we were talking to this account manager about the creative process and how to scale creative, because we're all trying to find winning assets. That's the whole point, right? And there's Advantage Plus campaigns where you can put a bunch of creative in to test at a bit more scale so that you can find these winners faster. But even doing that, Advantage Plus only goes to 3 or 4 assets that they think is going to work. And really the other 30 that you put in there get nothing. And then you have these other campaigns, creative testing campaigns, which are manually created campaigns. Put 10 or 20 assets in there. And again, that's a slow process to do that. 3 or 4 get chosen to be winners. And then all this other stuff that you spend all these hours on just goes to waste. And we asked her today, how do you do this? And they said, I don't know. She said, no one knows. She said, not even Meta know the best way to scale creative testing. Right?
Wow.
Which was wild to hear. So creative testing and the creative, the output of creative has been a huge focus for us over the last 4 months, only the last 4 months, because we were just, picking stuff that we thought we needed to do. Let's do a video of Raquel. Let's do a warehouse video. Let's do this. When we started to break it down, you see your best selling products are getting all the creative, but maybe your other stuff that's not selling just doesn't have any creative. So when you lay it out like that and you think, fuck, there's a lot of creative that needs to be made.
A lot of opportunity to scale.
A lot of opportunity comes into it. So this has been a huge part of our thinking.
So obviously you'll do that, all the pillars for each product. You'll obviously do that going into Black Friday. You'll do it for any product launches. But outside of, key sale dates, maybe your end of financial year, Black Friday and the new launches, is this something that you're trying to refresh once a month, once every 2 months, once a quarter?
Yeah.
Where is it at for you guys? And obviously you guys have a more significant budget and team than others.
Yep.
But just to see, where you're at with this.
We will be producing probably like 50 assets a week.
50 assets a week.
Ish.
And we don't have a big team though.
We don't have a big team.
That's not a big team. That's like
one
That's
graphic.
pretty good though, 50 assets a week. You looked at me like, what?
Yeah. So, and
we outsource a lot. Like we have like a really good photographer. And I think what we're like speaking with all these big retailers like globally now, like our campaign imagery and lifestyle imagery needs to be like as good as Dolce & Gabbana.
Of course, that's the game you're playing now.
So we're doing a lot more of that lately, and I feel like I don't have a look in the ad account, but I think like that's some of our good, some of our best performing sometimes.
The way we sort of like think about it, because it's a volume thing, we think, well, previously we're going to a shoot where we might just focus on 2 or 3 products. Now we're really getting the most out of those shoots by getting every product shot. And if it's like these cool hands holding the product, then we'll quickly switch out the product to every product.
Every
That's
perfume.
cool.
Right?
Yeah.
So you sort of get that asset done.
Yeah.
And you can then try a different one. But we really make sure that, we have a lot going on. But then we sort of realize that you can't do all of it for every pillar all the time. Unless you're LSKD or Xclad or these guys, So we use obviously motion reports. Most people would know about motion and or triple whale. It's a different thing, but has similar uses. And we're just trying to work on this week. We're going to do 3 of the pillars, and we're going to do 4 products in 3 of the pillars. We're going to make really good content, because as much as it's about volume, as I was saying, it's hard to test the volume. You can't test all the volume at once. So you need to create good stuff that you can test effectively, get actual information and data on which hook worked the best, which call to action, which copy, which thing. You need to be able to know that. And then we would just apply the best copy to the next ad, or we'll chop and change if it's reviews over the top of an image. If this review worked the best versus these 7, grab that review, put it on all of them.
We're recycling a lot of it.
Yeah, of course. So when you're doing this analysis of the performance of the creative at the end of the month or once a week and doing this, now that you've outsourced it with an agency, are they doing this and coming back and reporting trends to you, or are you going in and saying, hey guys, this is working, let's focus on this?
They come to us.
That's good.
So our Meta agency, Facebook agency that does our spending for us, they do it for us. And it's really important. It gets technical, but like the way that you name the ad, the way that it then shows up in the ad account, so that you can then tag it in motion, so that you can see the report on it, all that stuff matters. And that's important to have set up correctly. So you can just go and click on Nomad reviews and Nomad UGC, and bang, you can see
it.
That stuff. So it is a bit technical, but when you sort of like have the right partners and the right plan, it is doable. And once you get to that point, you understand that it really is just about creative in e-com. And obviously Raquel being the brand and doing that community building, underneath all of that is really well put together creative content engine, we call it.
You explaining what you've just been talking about for the last 5 minutes, if you can summarize that and put that into your decks when you chat to these retailers, it'll blow their minds, because it's like the way you think about that as well. I think it just shows it's like you almost can't lose when you approach it the way that you guys are doing. And then if you're creating that much volume across 20 different pillars, as you said, the content has evolved a lot over the last year. How would you know what to test and what's going to take the most spend unless you're having such a, it's the creative diversity that Meta speak about inside your platform? It's probably hard to quantify, because some of the costs are going to be outsourced, some of it's going to be your internal team. But it's interesting to see, I don't know if you've got like an actual percentage or maybe it's a gut feel. Where do you think you're spending, like in terms of your ad spend to money that you're spending on the creative? How is that sort of balanced over the last year? Has there been a lot more emphasis on the creative rather than just the spend? Because the creative will unlock obviously the spend.
The spend, our MER is probably too high. I was just looking at it. Total marketing efficiency ratio for the whole year, including external spending for creators and creative and all this, sitting at 24%. And I know there's brands at 10, I know there's brands at 40. 24% is pretty good for us. So much of that.
Particularly if you do a lot of the manufacturing of once you have the stuff, you do it in your own. So you got, you invest in the machinery so you can have better margins. It allows you to do more with, numbers like that anyway.
That's right. And I think that, as far as investing in the actual creation of the creative, we don't actually spend heaps on it. Like it's not, for what we produce, the day shoots that we do, they're not that expensive. It's not 50 grand a shoot. It's like 5 grand a shoot. And you might get 150 assets out of it. You can make that back on one asset quickly. And, maybe the big CGI stuff, is once a month. That's not crazy expensive, but it is hit and miss. But, having this, it can't just all be about, ads and copy and all that. Like we do need to invest into CGI stuff or creators or PR or all this other stuff. It's so important. You can't just have one.
Was that Ocean Eyes one? Was that like a CGI thing?
Yeah.
Did you realize when you posted it how viral it was going to go?
No, like that is like recognized globally now. Like it is so good. Like founder posted that video of me speaking about it recently. It's got like it's like 1.7 million views, more than Steve Jobs. And the guy that did it had hundreds of people messaging me, asking me who it was. So I tagged who it was. He's had like hundreds and hundreds of business requests. But I think we got like 35,000 followers just from that one video.
Nearly 30 million views.
Yeah, and like, oh no, I think it's like 20 million views or
It's
something
a lot.
like that.
It's a lot. I was looking at it earlier. It's crazy.
So like, I think like that, but I think we were like a little bit ahead of the time.
You
but
can't go look at that now and say, I'm going to go like your brand with your brand. It's like you have to be on right at the start and early to really maximize it. Like if you're watching brands and you got your finger on the pulse and you see like the best kind of leading brands doing it, okay, jump on if you can get it into action the next week. You're probably going to do well.
Yeah.
But these like things like that, these little e-com hacks, they don't last long, but if you can spot one and get in early, it can really be really effective.
Because that was nearly a year ago now, and I feel like
you've seen a lot of it, but it's like the execution of it and at the right time with the right like contextual product in the right setting can do really well. We'll start to wrap up, but I just want to like finish off this conversation. Obviously, we're going to come back and do another one. We'll chat all about Black Friday, but for 2024, had to think about what year we're in now. But just to recap. So how much did you say you did over Black Friday last year?
Last year we did 2.2 million in sales. Yeah. Was about, I think 26,000 orders. 26,000 orders over the 12 days. Yeah. Wow. And 50% of it on the first day.
50% on so you did over 1 million in a day?
Yeah. Just or 40% the first day, just under 1 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, I know the way both of you are wired. You don't want to just do the same again this year.
No.
What's the brief version, because we'll go into it in more detail. But for those that are still prepping, this episode's going out next week.
Cool.
So it's going to be current before Black Friday, just to get you don't feel like you need to explain your whole content machine again, because I think you did a very good job of that. But what does Black Friday prep look like this year for you guys at a brand level and sort of the more back-end systemization of the content machine in order to go and beat last year's?
Yeah.
And I'd love to know if you've spoken about it publicly. Do you have any goals that you've set in terms of units, or we don't have to talk about that, but just like where are you trying to go from last year in terms of this growth?
Yeah, I think like the word that represents the content this year to last year is elevated.
And planned.
And really organized and really planned. And last year was our first ever Black Friday. And if anyone remembers it, we had those pink balloon bubble riding, and it was like,
We looks like White Fox.
we and love them, but like,
no hate.
And that was us then. And
but that was the trend then. I think we even had some of that stuff.
Yeah, and everyone
But because it was this new thing and it elevated and it popped compared to everyone else just doing like flat text.
Yeah.
So it was like one of those hacks as well.
Yeah.
And it worked. I mean, it worked.
I remember saying to Jazz, our creative, I'm like, let's do something bright pink. Let's just make it so loud that no one can miss us. Because I was nervous that it was all on the line. I was in charge. And this year, obviously more confident. We know that we can, talk to our audience, really well. We just really didn't want to be this like Harvey Norman, clearance sale discount brand. We wanted to maintain this level of luxury throughout the content. And I think that they absolutely crushed it. Like
it looks really good.
It looks really good. It's just elevated, it's black, white, silver. Raquel's plays a big part in it. The offer is still the same. Up to 40% off. It's probably stronger than last year, some SKUs. And then we really focused on hype. What is the first 7 days of this hype phase where we're trying to get people ready? What does the go live brand look like? What does mid-sale look like? What does the end look like? So there's 4 stages of the sale. We've got 4 different versions of creative all built out for. So it's, this really, I won't give it away, but this, I'm really pumped for the go live color change that we went to. And I think the team just really got behind it. Our like creative manager, she just like got it. And we sort of told 2 stories. It was like, who are we? Who is Elijah? And what is our like other message in the sale? And to be fair, when creative came to me with what they wanted the sale to be, it was about this holiday, win this experience, because we are giving away like a pretty significant experience as part of the deal. And it was very much about this like travel moment. it didn't hit the way that I could visualize it to hit. And I said to them, I'm like, this looks awesome, but I think it's the secondary message to the sale.
Yeah.
And what you have to do, to anyone listening, when you're trying to think of what your brand identity is going to be in a sale, which you should think about, is what do the actual assets look like that say up to 40% off, or say, Who is Elijah is doing this? What is the physical piece of content? What does the content look like? Because you can have this, idea of this concept that you want people to feel, but up to 40% off can only say one thing. You can't get this whole other story in that piece of content. So you need to look at what the creative is for this like overall overarching brand identity, and then build in some cool newness underneath it. But it's a experience. It's a journey to go through, and it's so enjoyable. I think it's been so good to just watch it all come to life.
It's going to be really exciting this year because Black Friday's right at the end of November.
Yep.
Cyber Week is December. So it's Black Friday, Cyber Week, Christmas.
Yeah,
not a whole lot of time in between. It's all mixed in. So I'm sure there's going to be some record-setting months for a lot of brands. But I think you made a really good point as well. Like, we want to be different, and we want to go to market with a strong offer, and try and do something different in terms of like visually, like how can we stand up visually, and then do something a little bit unique with our offers. There's only so many things you can do. Yeah. So it's like there's only so much you can do. But one thing I think to take out of what Adam just said as well is be careful you don't overcomplicate your messaging, because you want to have up to this % off. And then if you buy 2, you get X, and then we'll give you this for free. And then if you spend this, you can win this whole. If you do try and do too much and you don't communicate in the right way, it'll get lost.
Yeah.
It'll get very, very lost amongst the world of offers and sales at that time. Do you foresee brands going as early as they did last year for Black Friday?
Yeah, we're going on the 14th. of November.
About 2 weeks early.
2 weeks early, all the way through.
You're one of those.
Well, you got to, because I think we've gone earlier and earlier the last 3 years. It's become a trend. It's like, why wouldn't you extend that? And sure, because like for us anyway, our 2 biggest days was the day our Black Friday sale started, and then actually Black Friday. Yeah. So it's like you get 2 Black Fridays, you know what I mean? Yeah. 2 big events. Probably the day we actually started our sale was even bigger than the Black Friday.
Yeah.
But then like the period in between is so much higher elevated than where you would have been normally anyway. So it's like, why wouldn't you extend that?
Extend it,
because other brands are, and it's like not everyone has an infinite budget to spend on Black Friday. Someone's like, okay, I'm going to spend $1,000 or $2,000 on Black Friday this year. And it's probably not even planned out and conscious. It's just like, what do I feel comfortable with? If all these other brands launch with all these strong offers, up to 70% off, you see all the like clothing brands, it's like, fuck, that's like, I want to go and get $700 of clothes at all these amazing discounts. And then your brand goes live only on Black Friday because you're a luxury brand. You want to be elevated. We don't discount. We've got no money left.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So interesting. But we'll come back for those that are real, like the e-com lovers. We'll do a whole episode on media buying and strategy and creative and all the more technical things with you after that. You know, in December, we'll have you back on, and I'll be watching you guys as you continue to grow. We'll miss you when you're over in the UK. I'll make sure we still find a time, whether I'm over there or you guys are back here at the end of next year, to do a part. Will be part 5 with the Who is Elijah team. So we're really building it out now. Obviously, most people know who you guys are, Raquel and Adam Bouris. You can find you guys online. But for those that don't know, where's the best place to find Who is Elijah or you guys individually?
Most importantly, Who is Elijah is Who is Elijah Parfum on Instagram. I don't know how many A's are in my name, but Raquel Bouris. At Adam Bouris, is that right?
Yeah.
But I mean, see us on the street.
Yeah. I love seeing you guys both. And it's not even... I mean, it just comes off so organic, so it doesn't seem forced in any way. Building both of your personal brands in completely different ways. I think it'll serve both of you guys personally and individually, whatever you guys do for not the next 2 years, for the next 20.
Yeah.
And then it also really helps the business. So I think there's a lesson in that for people that are a little bit earlier on. Like, don't think, oh, I'm an introvert. There's no value in me building a personal brand.
Yeah.
You're leaving a lot on the table if you don't, right?
Yeah. My biggest regret is not starting earlier. Like, it's only been this year I've gotten really confident. And seeing how we were talking about today, like how not quickly the brand grew. It's not just because of this, but it definitely is like such an important factor. If I had done it 3 years ago, I don't know, like I don't know. I just feel like if I wish that I was even just like filming the BTS of things. Like I did this video yesterday with Jazz, our amazing content guru, and we went from the apartment that we started, who was Elijah in, to the storage unit in Kurnell, to our first proper warehouse in Tarrant Point, to our new warehouse in Tarrant Point, and like I had no videos from the first 2 locations, and it's like, that's like, that was the coolest part.
I know.
Like what we do now is like, it's cool, but like seeing me hand film like how I used to do things, like that would.
And when you were pregnant as
like
well.
that is like TikTok gold.
I know.
TikTok gold.
We were too early. We were just
too early. I don't think TikTok wasn't even a thing then, was it? Yeah.
No,
so
it definitely wasn't.
I've got nothing. I've got a few photos. So like film absolutely everything. Talk to TikTok. Like we're only just jumping on the TikTok bandwagon, like honestly now, and it's like so late.
Same. We again, like do as we say, don't do as we do all the time.
Yeah.
But there's only so much time in the day. There's only so much you can spread yourself across. And sometimes like certain things work better for other businesses. So it's fine to double down on them. But you just reminded me, I'm the same thing as you. We recorded stuff for me in the first warehouse we had, which was cool. But like, just like, oh, fuck, look at these 600 orders we just packed. I wish I properly documented it. And it can be really difficult. I mean, like when you're busy with business and running a business, or you have multiple projects, to prioritize the content creation. That's one thing YOY and Danielle and their brand has done really well, leading with content and everything off the back of that. But if I didn't have the podcast, I'd hardly be posting any content. So I'm glad at least I've got this one consistent thing. But you just reminded me, been doing a little day in the life birthday edition. So I'll have to get some footage of you guys before you guys go, or I'll be like, fuck, the most important part of the day, I didn't get any content. So we'll leave it there. Thanks, guys. I'm sure you guys will love this episode. Let me know what you think. See you later. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode or you got something out of it, do yourself a favor, do me a favor, do your friends a favor, and share this with them, and they can come along on this journey with us. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.